A self-destruct button.
5, 4, 3, 2. We're live.
Welcome back to Keepers of the Word. You're here with Mike, Ron, and James. We put together a great show for you today about Occultism in Freemasonry, a book written by Mario A. Moreno. Before we get into it, James, don't you have some things to say?
I do. Make sure to follow us on all social media outlets, Twitch being our favorite. Hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications to stay up to date with our new content.
Disclaimer: the views and topics of Keepers of the Word are solely our opinions and do not reflect the opinions of any Masonic Grand Lodge or lodges in general. Well, here we are, back once again. Into the fray we go on a topic that is near and dear to us about occultism in Freemasonry, written by Mario Moreno. Mario, how are you?
I'm well. How about you guys?
Awesome. How was your day?
It's been great. Thanks for asking. How about your guys's?
It's
Great.
been good. I can't complain.
Doing good.
Awesome.
When I got this book and you sent it to me, I was at first I was like, wow, it's 60 pages. Let's check it out. First couple pages, I'm already, wow, okay, we're getting into some stuff here. So when you got into, I want to say the foreword. Yes, the foreword. What inspired that?
So my main inspiration for the foreword was basically from my own personal experience in the craft. So when I initially asked, well, what is Freemasonry, to the man that I had met once upon a time, he pretty much told me those exact words. It's a modern day mystery school. And so I was like, well, what is a modern day mystery school? I don't know what that is. Like I had literally almost no idea what that was. So I was like, trying to put the pieces together. And so he kind of just stared at me and told me it's basically a school that utilizes the ancient teachings of Egypt, Greece, and other civilizations that surrounded those areas. So it's a utilization of these ancient teachings in order to make us better men through the philosophical application therein. And so basically that's what he had told me in a nutshell. And I was like, okay, well, can you give me some more info on that? And so hours later, we had a pretty vast discussion on that. And it inspired me so much. And I petitioned a lodge and joined, and some odd years later, here I am writing this first book. And yeah, so that's pretty much what mainly inspired me.
So, were you already interested in the occult when you decided to petition and found out that we were a modern mystery school, or did you get interested after joining Masonry?
So it was very, I want to say yes to the occult, but in that same time, I'm going to say no, because I was seeking spiritual knowledge, but I was seeking it through an exoteric view. So I was looking into like various religions and studying these exoteric philosophies and not really understanding the deeper truths behind them. And then one day I decided to pick up a Manly P. Hall book, which was The Lost Keys of Freemasonry. And
There you go.
that pretty much blew my mind. And then I just saw religious philosophy in a totally different view. And from that point, that's what opened the door to these occult principles.
That's definitely a way to start, is with Manly P. Hall.
Yeah, he definitely opened the floodgates.
Mm-hmm. What advice would you give to someone that is interested in Freemasonry?
My advice would be, basically come in here with an open mind, willing to learn from various traditions and understand that all symbolism that we adopt and that we don't adopt in our ritual all points to the one creator, the infinite God, or the great architect of the universe, as we so call it in our craft. So with that knowledge and that understanding of the one thing, the student of the occult or the new student of the occult that's interested can basically take that symbolism and apply it to his life and realize that it's all pointing down the same path, and that's the path of consciousness.
A good answer there.
Thanks.
So when you were going down your path of Freemasonry, how did you come to the conclusion that there was this alchemic and hermetic connection to Freemasonry? What was the inspiration for the book, and how did you get to that point?
Great question. So I started putting the pieces together as soon as I basically went through the first degree, and I was blown away. I was in total awe because it was an amazing degree night. And so when I went home, I was like putting the pieces together from certain parts of the ritual, like the circumambulations. I'm not going to go too deep into that, but regarding like, okay, so the circumambulations, kneeling at the altar, the stations of the worshipful master, the senior warden, and the junior warden, seeing those two pillars. I had studied a little bit of Hermetic philosophy at the time, regarding the Corpus Hermeticum. So when I had seen those pillars, I started putting the pieces together, and I was like, hey, I remember reading about two different poles, two extreme poles, and then it made me remember even more that this also comes from the Kybalion, which is the expansion of these Hermetic axioms. So that started establishing this Hermetic view on these two extreme points of polarity, and then I really started to rip into it and notice that every aspect of the degree is Hermetic in nature, and even the other degrees. And then the alchemical aspects are part of the Hermetic concepts as well. So, I mean, we have astrology and astronomy and chemistry and alchemy, which is all one science of the Hermetic teachings. So, with understanding the Hermetic principles, or the 7 Hermetic principles as we know it, there are the 7 alchemical steps and the symbolism of these alchemical steps. So it took years of study and application to really nail it down and make sure I knew what I was talking about. But that was pretty much how I did it. I just put the pieces together, degree after degree, really looking at what we were doing, reading these texts. Like literally as soon as I got home, I would go and just deep dive into various occult texts that would correspond with what we're going through in these rituals. And
why do you think occultism is shunned in Freemasonry?
Because the word occult has a very negative meaning in the Western world, and that comes from it's just ignorance. They hear the word occult and they think it means cult, like helter skelter, or some evil organization that worships this Christian ideal of a devil. And that also can come from that specific organization that I think they're called I can't even remember the name, but it was Anton LaVey's satanic organization that he started once upon a time, which him adopting that concept of Satan and blowing it up into this Christian concept of evil, it pretty much just exploded, and it made the idea of this satanic energy, which isn't a negative thing unless it's perverted, which that's another rabbit hole to go down. But so Americans just have this twisted perception of it, and religious superstition plays a role in that and doesn't help.
So why do you think it's important to discuss and educate Freemasons about occult topics?
Because it's going to lead to the expansion of consciousness. So studying these occult philosophies is extremely vital to evolving the mind with a capital M. And what that means is man cannot grow from exoteric views and social clubbing, that is happening in our order. The only way man can truly grow is by the esoteric study of these symbols and of these philosophies, and applying these philosophies, which in turn expands consciousness, thus growing the intellect. And from that point, when he dies, as we learn in the third degree of a man being raised to the sublime degree of a master mason, when he dies, he escapes death, the physical construct of death, and ascends into the astral realm and becomes one with universal consciousness.
Wow, that's pretty heavy there.
Right. I have
what you did there.
I'm trying to
Patrick.
keep it as tight as I can.
Right.
Going back to the book, I saw in chapter 3, which is probably my favorite chapter, preparation in the chamber of reflection. And as you know, or as many people know, the chamber of reflection was something that was instilled a long time ago, and was taken out because the occult. It's the F word, right?
Oh yeah.
But now we're starting to see a resurgence in it, well, especially here in California. There's a lot of lodges that are adopting the practice back again, and I feel it's something that is needed. It's something that is definitely a part that prepares you to be solemn in getting ready to go through your degree, so that way you are no longer profane. When you knock on the door, you were greeted and you were let in, and then you go through your degree. But prior to that, there's some things that happen in the chamber of reflection. Do you want to dive into what the chamber of reflection is? Mario?
Absolutely. Okay, so the chamber of reflection is a room. Now, this room can either dwell under a Masonic ritual room, as I like to call it, or just the lodge room, as some Masons would also call it, or it dwells within the Masonic lodge in a room separate from the actual ritual room. So this room is very special. It's a room with alchemical symbolism all over it. And the entire idea of it is to have the individual reflect on his mortality. So the individual reflecting on his mortality it's supposed to lead the person to understanding that he's about to undertake an insanely big part of Freemasonry, and therein, excuse me. Okay, so him undertaking this aspect is basically going to change his life forever. He's going to reflect on his future demise, and from that point, these degrees are going to shape him into a better man, with the occult application, in order so that when he dies, he could become one with his creator and not incarnate back to this earth, as it says in the Hermetic principles or teachings.
Correct.
So
when you look at that mirror, when you go back in there in your third degree, you're no longer looking at the same person.
Right. And that's the exact point here. And so guys can go through the 3 degrees, which we've probably have seen countless times, and basically they can get nothing out of it. They just go through the motions, and there's no real value to going through it. They're just like, yeah, I'm a master mason now. But, you ask these guys, like, well, what did you learn? Like, what have you achieved by becoming a master mason? And a lot of them can't even answer that question. They'll just be like, yeah, well, I have the, I'm a better man. Oh, I've achieved this rank. And it's like, it's not about achieving a rank.
No.
You don't even have to be a Mason to have this
mind.
ascended state of consciousness.
Right.
Yes, you're very correct with that statement. You don't have to be a Mason to go through a rite of passage that ascends yourself into a higher version of yourself. So no, it's Masonry is a path and a tool, but I feel a lot of people don't use it as such. It's more of a title than anything. Going into chapter 4, the Masonic birth in the Cosmic Lodge. And this one really touched a lot of parts.
A lot.
Do you want to expand on that one?
Of course. So this is actually my favorite chapter in the book as well. It was definitely fun writing it. So the 4th chapter is basically going into the elemental factor of the degree, which is water, because obviously where a man is born of water, which is attributed to the feminine aspect of the universe and corresponds with the moon. So when the candidate goes through this specific degree, he's representing the initiate of the universe. So he's the microcosm within the macrocosm. And he gazes upon the floor once he's born through the elemental waters of Freemasonry and realizes that what is below is like what is above, and what is above is like what is below. So he's this microcosmic being within this macrocosmic universe. And there's a synergistic connection between him and the infinite. So he learns, esoterically, that there's this undying connection between him and the infinite. And thus he is born from these elemental waters of the moon, as one could say in an astrological perspective. And in doing so, he's spiritually ready to advance into the next stage, which is manhood, because the first degree represents infancy.
Right. Okay, I have a question about chapter 5, which I like the whole book, but chapter 5, the Masonic adulthood in the Cosmic Lodge. And I'm going to kind of flip this instead of Freemasonry. You were talking about the first 3 steps. What represents the first 3 steps: wisdom, strength, and beauty in your life today?
That is a interesting question. So wisdom, we'll go into that one first. So that's actually my favorite step. So wisdom is what we need as individuals to become better men. And it is the knowledge, the absolute knowledge of the divine. Now that is something I absolutely revel in. I take pride in gaining as much wisdom as I can and absorbing it and applying it to my personal life in order to expand consciousness. Now, strength is something we also need as well, because we can, not every man is going to be able to just soak up information like a sponge. So we need strength to also go with wisdom. So strength is going to empower the mind, and strength can be is utilized by the elemental fire. So that's a passion that is ignited by this elemental fire, which can be viewed through the planet Mars or the sun, and specifically Mars, though, because that's what the second degree's element corresponds with. And that final step, beauty. So beauty is seen in 2 ways. We have physical beauty, and when we have the spiritual beauty, which we're looking at the internal spiritual beauty, because anything on this physical plane that has to do with exotericism or physical constructs is not real beauty. It's just an illusion.
Illusion. Yeah.
So we're looking for the immortal aspect. So beauty is what happens when we have the sum of these first two steps leading to that third step. So that's, in my opinion, that's what forms true beauty. So beauty is that appreciation for the first two steps being achieved. And so how that corresponds with my life is, I feel having this knowledge makes me a better person, not only on the inside, but also how I come off to people, so they would see me as this better person, this evolved person, thus making me overall a beautiful person, if you will. I'm not trying to, say I'm
Right.
this handsome devil here, but you get the point.
Right.
I think the internal workings are, especially in the second degree, when you're doing the staircase, that area really prepares you for all of these different
The work.
pieces of work that you can dive into and master, right?
As a human being, yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
As the saying, the jack of all trades,
Mm-hmm.
right? But mastering each one would take a lot of time. And in masonry, that's one thing that we do have. We have a lot of time. We have a lot of time to master these seven arts that were given to us. Do you think in the second degree, which I believe Masonic adulthood in the Cosmic Lodge, that's chapter 5 in your book,
Correct.
that really gives you the whole perspective of King Solomon and the middle chamber. But you know what's interesting to me is, I wonder what it was like prior to the way this degree was. Because as you know, the degree before it was this 1717 modern Freemasonry, it was Nimrod, and the first 40, I think it was first 40,000 Freemasons were created by Nimrod to build the Tower of Babel. And seeing how all this changed from from the 1600s to the early version, do you feel the old version was just something we outgrew, and now we're in a different position where we have something that is a little more digestive and something that we can really go down and relate to?
That is a interesting question. Yeah, I feel like, I've only gazed into that a little bit, so I definitely not as knowledgeable on that as you guys probably are, but I do know from the perspective I had that I think we've evolved a little bit more, and then with the integration of the third degree, that pretty much just put the nail in the coffin in a good way.
Yeah.
So I
you're-
think
you're
that
correct.
really topped off the cake. That was the icing on the cake there. But I remember hearing a while back that the second degree was actually the final degree once
Correct.
upon a time. And it makes sense, because when we get to that that final step, that seventh step, we can, I mean, we're taught that, and we can read this in Duncan's ritual, so this is nothing private for the guys who are listening in. It's meant to bring the Mason to a communion with his maker. And now, what does that mean? That's basically saying that through the application of all these occult sciences, which all these steps allude to, the Mason is brought to harmony with his maker, which is universal consciousness. His consciousness has ascended to that specific realm in that plane of existence. So when he dies, he's in communion with that maker. He will not reincarnate back to this earth to restart the cycle all over again until he learns from his ignorance. So therefore, that's pretty much the wrap of that, the final culmination of those steps.
Well said. Well said, for sure. That's basically
Yeah.
transcendental magic there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, James,
hell
Mike,
is
I don't mean to
life.
cut you guys off. Can you guys turn your mics up a couple notches? You guys are a little bit low.
Okay. Sound a little better?
Yeah, talk a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
That's why we did the same thing. Yeah,
Cool.
sleazy. Yeah. So you know, when we're talking about 3, 5, 7, the steps, and like you said, at the end of the step, we transcend. When they added the third degree was well for me, it's my favorite. But there's certain aspects to the degree that are hidden, like the acacia, the sprig of acacia. That wasn't added until I believe a little after 1717. And it was done for a reason. You know, it was a guy who was a Mason. I forget his name. He introduced it, but he was also somebody who studied John Dee and Edward Kelly and their work
And other things.
which pretty much denotes that DMT or the Philosopher's Stone is interjected at this point by the symbol of acacia. So when we go into that degree and we're talking about ascending and reaching a higher level of consciousness, this is something that is symbolical at the moment, and then afterwards it's really up to you to make it that, right?
Right.
Well,
I'm going to go to the next chapter here. In the book, you describe the ruffians as representations of ignorance, superstition, and fear, which I could not agree more with. How do you think this mentality that is alive within Freemasonry today is affecting and impeding Freemasonry?
Oh, I could go on for hours on that.
You know, I feel the same way. I feel the same way.
It's I'm gonna have to contain myself for that one.
Yes. Ditto.
Yeah, that's a heavy question there. Okay, so yeah, these forces, as I like to call them, Setian forces, because Set in ancient
Yes.
Egypt was the brother of Osiris, the jealous, envious, just wrathful brother of Osiris. Okay, he was the god of chaos, and he was the idea of evil as well. When we're talking about the spiritual aspect of Set, or how Christians can view the devil, per se, that he's this evil force. So aside from that, when we look at ignorance, superstition, and fear, we can see that in many different religious philosophies. Specifically, I hate to attack, but I mean specifically Christianity, we see that in a very prominent way by shunning everything that has nothing to do with that specific ideology. Anything that's outside of the Christian scope is immediately flagged as evil.
Satanism?
Yeah, it's pretty much devil
Yeah.
worship, right? That's what the
Satanic panic.
gist of it is. Yeah, so if it's not aligned with that exoteric view of their religion, it's already deemed as this terrible thing. So that right there is the embodiment of ignorance. They are ignoring the facts that precede their own belief system, and they're relying on this superstitious fear. So this superstitious concept that they already have ingrained in their minds from the time they're kids up until they're adults is just laying in there, and it's growing and growing, and they don't care to question it or dispel it. So that's like the primary force of Set that we see specifically today, especially Freemasonry, because we've been attacked by the Christian religion for hundreds of years now. I mean, look at technically, I guess the same thing, but I mean, they would argue otherwise, but
yeah, they would argue with each other. Christians don't like the Catholics; they're more Christian-like than whatever, man.
Right, but they can't even agree on their own theology. So I mean, that just says it right there.
It's like a buffet, you know. Right. They just take what they want to use that works for their way to control, and then
dump it in a waste bin called Satanism.
Yes. So for me, that experience has gone one too many times.
Far too many.
in the craft where, well, we've experienced it ourselves.
Yep.
It's negative, and it's unfortunate that the minds haven't opened, especially with this huge resurgence in folks wanting the esoteric. A lot of lodges are turning to giving their own esoteric lectures and doing things that are, wouldn't have been done 10, 15 years ago. So it's a good thing that this is coming back, and it's people are starting to dig, kind of like you were interested, and you're like, hey, you know what, there's more, and you decided to look for it, and you found it, and now it's time to share your findings, right?
Right. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
So
Yeah,
with that, with the negative aspect, I have a question. Did you experience any negativity regarding either the subject matter as far as the occult is concerned, or did you have any brothers that gave you a hard time saying that you were giving secrets away by the way that you told the story through your book? I mean, there's certain people that are like, oh, you're giving away, you're telling it all, you're giving the secrets away, man. What's going on? So did you experience any kind of negativity in that aspect, either with telling the book story or with the occult subject matter?
I actually didn't get a lot of
Really?
Wow.
negative feedback. I had just a little bit of it, which the first one happened to be on an Amazon review, which was from a brother, which I thought was absolutely absurd. But aside from that, I mean, from a Masonic perspective, surprisingly, not too much. Which I'm still shocked by. But I mean, I'm about to give a presentation for the 2 books I just published in our library once it's completely finished up. So by then, I'm sure I'm going to have a little bit of feedback from them, from the older guys that don't even dare to peek over the the curtains. So
Or I did a little bit of backlash, huh?
yeah, I'm sure I'm going to get it.
Hey, we got it. We get it.
Just a tad bit.
We got it. We get it. We're getting it. I
Like
mean,
every day.
it doesn't matter. The thing is,
Keep going.
you're doing what you love. You're passionate about it, and there's a lot of brothers who feel the same way. And if you take that time to hate on somebody for doing something, you should really look at yourself, especially if you're not doing anything.
Right.
Exactly, and basically it's just people in their ignorance, man. They never even bothered to gaze into this deeper meaning of the 3 degrees, and then they sit there and they take this ignorance and then they try to infect you with it. And it's like, you don't even know yourself. How are you going to tell me what's right and what's wrong when you don't even know how to think? You can't even understand the concept of thinking and the philosophical aspect of it. So you have the audacity to sit there and try to say, "Oh, you're wrong. This occult stuff is of the devil, or it's not true." First come to me when you know how to think, and then we can have a discussion. But until that point, just stay silent and learn.
Right. If you're not going to meet on the level to have an adult conversation, then, to stay at the kiddie table.
Perfectly said.
I think go ahead, Ron.
No, I was just gonna say, and yet there are still some guys, because I want to say that I've been a Mason for about 15 years, and I think I was about 5 years into Masonry when I really started going down rabbit holes and getting into the esoterics and the occult aspects of the degrees, and doing these deeper dives and looking beyond the veil. And when I started sharing information that I had with some guys that had been in the craft for years, I got amazingly, it was well received by certain people. I mean, there's certain people that you're never gonna, they're gonna, tell you you're full of shit, or say that's not what Masonry is, or whatever. But there were certain people that I went through my journey with that would come to me and say, wow, I've been a Mason for 25 years, and I had never even thought about that aspect of Masonry. And so to be able to help someone who was someone who was a senior to me within Masonry open their eyes to this, and have them be willing to accept this concept of what's beyond the veil is a cool thing too. I mean, there's plenty of people that are gonna think that it's BS and poo-poo it, but there's also gonna be some of the old time guys that are gonna never have been introduced to anything like this, or never gone down those rabbit holes. And as soon as you start opening their mind to it and allowing them to expand their consciousness, they're going to be thankful for it. So it's definitely a cool aspect of Masonry.
One thing I found is it's best to look at Masonry through your own eyes rather than somebody else's, because you're going to be let down if you look through somebody else's. The thing, as you look at it over the years, and I've seen some really bad shit, unfortunately, but I'm still very hopeful, because I feel like I'm still here. I'm still putting my effort and my work in, and this whole, you get what you put in, you get out of what you put in, right? And to me, I think that's bullshit. I think it's really what do you want, and go get it, and that's it. Simple. You want the esoterics, you want the deep teachings, go get it. Go find those people. Go find those books, and then share that information if you so can.
That is a
what I did.
great explanation. Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one.
Because people are going to have their own views, and some people are very closed-minded, and sometimes you look up to these people, because they're older than you, or they've been around a lot longer in the craft, but they might not meet up to your standards as to what you thought Masonry was. So therefore, you have to be that standard. You have to build yourself to be that person that you want to meet. Continuously bettering yourself to be that better person tomorrow. It's heavy work. It's hard work. It's deep work.
I couldn't agree with you more.
But at the same time, I think I'm doing the craft a service by being that person to the new initiate, the person coming in, the person that has those deep questions that I'm learning to answer at this moment. Those are the really important parts. So like when somebody comes into the craft, the first thing I want to say, there's a quick read. Try this book, Occultism in Freemasonry by Mario Moreno. And then I'm going to give you his phone number, and you can call him directly. I'm just kidding.
And his address.
So to show up at 2 a.m.
Yeah. So I think this is really a good, quick read into what you're really getting into. And also, it will lead you down other paths in book form, obviously, that will make you want to dig deeper, because I'm pretty sure you on the surface, this is great, but if somebody were to sit down with you, Mario, and say, hey, what parts should I go next? Where should I start going down now? And you're going to have some answers. You're going to say, well, check out this book, and then check out this book, So I think it's very important for us as brothers to be that beacon of information and be able to share, or if not, have somebody that you can go to, hey man, I have some questions and I need some answers, and you're going to give them to me. That kind of thing,
Now,
Right.
in the bag.
Right, and yeah, that was well said. Yeah, and you guys have read the book will have noticed that I cite the Corpus Hermeticum like crazy, and I
Lot.
did that on purpose because this is in the Western esoteric tradition. This is the bread and butter of occultism. This is the father or the master of masters of the Western esoteric tradition's occult perspective. So I purposely did that because I really wanted to ingrain what I found to be the key points that corresponded with Freemasonry the most. So it would really entice the individual to go, if he hasn't already, and take a peek into that book and have his mind just blown away. Because like I've been reading that book for a long time now, and I can tell you that every time I pick it up, I still learn something new, and I'm still always in awe because it is a true source of knowledge, and it really just paints a beautiful picture of the occult anatomy of the universe and of man and that microcosmic and macrocosmic connection.
So you're quoting this book. I have another question here. As a book junkie myself, and I collect antiquarian and rare books and all this cool stuff, and Manly P. Hall first edition.
He'll show you his
Yes,
books.
Yes, possibly yes. 3 books. Your top 3 books, obviously that aren't yours. Top 3 books that you would recommend to anybody that wants, not an intro. That's just good meaty source. Your top 3 books.
That's a difficult one.
I know. I know. That's why I had to ask, because I didn't want to answer it.
Oh, joy. So let's think. Definitely the Corpus Hermeticum. That's always a staple of everything. The Egyptian Book of the Dead and the Lost Keys of Freemasonry. Those got to be the top 3 if I had to really sum it all down.
I knew you were going there.
Yeah. I have to. I mean, it's the Egyptian Book of the Dead is that's kind of a hard one to really rip apart because it doesn't really explain like the rituals all too well, but the visualization of these rituals and seeing these correspondences in Freemasonry is it's there. It's a beautiful layout, man. The Egyptians were geniuses.
For sure.
I noticed that
So-
you are a 32nd degree Scottish Rite Mason.
Yes.
When you went into the Scottish Rite, did you feel that you found what you were looking for there?
Oh, in the teachings themselves, yes. The Masons that were a part of it, not so much. There's a lot of Blue Lodge Masons that join the Scottish Rite, that basically don't know why they're in there. They're just there because they want the rank. And as Manly P. Hall says in the Lost Keys, in the qualifications of a true Mason, that ranks and badges and lapel pins and all these fancy schmancy golden trinkets that we like to wear mean absolutely nothing. Those are mortal concepts.
Yep.
Somebody once called them these gentlemen who like to wear pens and their titles Minos, Masons in name only.
Yep, that's perfect right there. Yeah, it's just a physical satisfaction with no real spiritual benefit. I mean, we could probably take it and take some spiritual value out of it, but to these people, not really. It's just a
Give me my
reflection of
pancakes.
their rank. Yeah, give me my knife and fork and my bacon and pancakes.
Yeah, that's very
Material.
unfortunate.
Materialism.
Yeah,
Yep.
I thought the same thing. I felt like, the Bridge to Light has a lot of information in there that can be really driven home and expanded on. But unfortunately, not many people understand or live by it or can teach it, and it's really sad. I think that even in that appendant body, there's always room for improvement, right? But I was really hoping to get that, really hoping to get that there, or find the people. Yeah, hey, there's the people that get it, and I really didn't get that, unfortunately. But what's next for you?
Yeah,
Mario?
you just finished up the Path of King Solomon, right? Can you give us a little insight into that and also tell us about what's next?
Yeah, I would be happy to. So, the path of King Saul Amman is basically the expansion of the first book, Occultism in Freemasonry. I'm going into the idea of Solomon as a not only as a physical person, but a symbolical person, because he can be viewed in both perspectives, just as the Bible is. It's not necessarily a physical text, but it's also a spiritual text. So it's not, the whole thing can't literally, it can't be taken literally. Otherwise, you have these religious constructs that dominate the masses and create superstition. So with that being said, this book takes these hermetic concepts that the universe is founded off of, and magical perspectives, and I go into the connection with Freemasonry. So it's a broader picture of Solomon and the Egyptian and Masonic rites. But where I'm pretty much going is I'm taking more of an Eastern path, because I've delved into enough Western esoteric tradition concepts in these last two books. So I'm taking a little bit of a break from that, and I'm going more into the Eastern philosophies now. That's pretty much what the third book is going off of. I've already started it. I'm a little more than halfway done. It's probably going to be released early next year, probably February at the latest, like mid-February. I'm thinking at the absolute latest. So that one's Eastern philosophies, and how it corresponds with Freemasonry, and how we can take this idea of the supreme Brahma, how the Hindus view Brahma, and how we can apply it, and how it can also be seen in a hermetic perspective. Because ultimately, Brahma and the concept of the mind, with the capital M, as Hermes says, is basically almost the same thing. It's super similar. There's some very subtle differences, but it's ultimately painting the picture towards that one mind, or the supreme Brahma in his manifest and unmanifested form. And yeah, that's
Universal
basically it.
consciousness.
Right. It all points to the one thing, as the
Awesome.
ancient alchemists used to say.
Well, I look forward to reading both those books.
For
I
sure.
really enjoyed this one, and I look forward to reading both those books, and especially when I have new brothers asking me questions, and I'll be able to point them down these paths, because they're really, really enriching. You know, there's another book that I picked up. Well, actually, I didn't pick up. When I first went to Pan America Lodge, one of the brothers there, Zeladon, he just handed me this book, and he's like, "Hey, check this out, brother. I want you to read this." And I looked at him like, "Okay, sure, no problem." And it's by Lawrence Gardner, The Shadow of King Solomon, The Lost Secrets of Freemasons Revealed. There is a lot of information in here.
There's a lot.
I mean, it's a great book. If you haven't read it, check it out. I really do recommend it, especially, if you're studying the craft and you really want to know where it came from, and its origins, and who did what. This is it. This is really, really deep. And it gets into the formations and other lodges outside of England. It's very enriching so far too, for me, and I highly recommend it.
It's a very similar read to like Robert Lamosse or Christopher Knight, how they go about doing their research
Correct.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that out. I've never even heard of it, so
Yeah,
that's
you'll
giving
like
me
it a lot, and I think it could probably add to what you're doing right now, because there's a lot of reference and information in there that can give you a little more guidance and light into certain subjects. So yeah, definitely check it out. And anybody in the audience that's listening, also please check it out. It's a really good read. Even if you're not a Mason, you'll dig it.
For sure. Yeah, I'll definitely pick that book up.
Yeah. Well, outside of Freemasonry, what do you do, Mario?
I do electrical work for the IBEW Local 357 out here in Las Vegas, Nevada. I basically work at the solar fields, so
Oh,
I,
cool.
yeah,
The
I work in the
Union
middle
Man.
of we're in the middle of nowhere in either the blazing hot weather or the freezing cold weather. So there's rarely any in between except in the spring. Spring it's a much better time to be an outside worker.
Especially in front of like
You
solar panels.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
it's gonna
sucks in the
melt
summer.
you.
Oh,
You
dude,
gotta-
tell me about it.
you got to dig your union being 357 too, right?
Oh, dude, that exactly.
It was your
That is-
calling,
that
right?
is cool.
Yeah, that was the main thing that really hit me when I noticed it, when I noticed the numbers when I first joined it years back. But I was like 357. What are the odds of that?
There you go.
I was like, I wonder if a Mason founded this. I never really looked into who started it, but I probably should.
So
There you go.
on a Saturday night, where's Mario Moreno in Las Vegas?
Saturday night, I definitely reading a book. That's for sure. That's my nighttime ritual.
Story of my life.
What about you guys?
Knee deep in some. I'm just kidding.
Knee deep in more books.
No, I think usually I'm tinkering with stuff, building things. I like to work with my hands. That's what I do, man. I like to build shit and put it out there. Create.
Nice.
I'm usually running around Los Angeles to some occult gathering, some secret order, or some weird shit that these guys send me to.
Fucking Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
He
know.
acts like we send him. We don't send him. He
You
goes.
used to send me
He
when
wants to go.
COVID wasn't around. Grand Witch's Ball, that was a hoot. You guys didn't go to that. You guys sent me that one.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
wanted to go.
I did.
Yeah, you
and I
did.
went and I knew everybody there. It was amazing.
See,
Like he was
Why do you
being
believe
Yeah,
forced.
yeah. And last
Yeah.
Saturday I was doing the winter solstice. Freezing, but it was.
Because you're a member of what?
What?
What
are
are
you
you a
talking
member
about?
of?
I don't. I'm not a member.
Oh,
not
you're
yet.
No, okay. All
I
right.
will be, hopefully.
That's great. Cool. We'll keep that silent. That part silent.
For now, yes.
now.
I'm sure we'll have more conversations about that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Upcoming,
I'm pretty sure
but-
you'll talk about it.
I think we will have a lot of topics.
He'll
to
talk.
about.
He'll talk about it for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Most definitely. Well, Mario, do you have any shout outs or anybody you want to give recognition to?
Oh, definitely. I've got a list of 200 people.
Oh,
Just
Go
kidding.
for it.
Yeah, my mother lodge, Vegas Lodge 32. For you guys that are tuned in, yeah, I just want to say I love you guys and I thank you for admitting me into this order, considering how particular my lodge is. I am greatly humbled and appreciative of that, and especially for the brothers that supported me during these, my first book especially, but the second one as well. Definitely want to give a shout out to Art Huffman,
Yeah.
Ace Fury Art on Instagram.
Yeah. What's up, Art?
What up, Ace?
Yeah, and Keon Hassan, Keon the One.
Keon, the man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah, Keon the One on Instagram if you guys aren't following him.
Persian cat.
The person
Yeah. And Brother Albert Boley, he's from our lodge. He runs the podcast with Keon. He's also another bright soul that has a lot of knowledge, especially on the Gnostic mysteries. He's very well versed in that. I've learned a lot through him.
That's great.
Yeah, man, these three guys are the keys, the fundamental keys in Nevada Masonry, as I like to put it. Absolutely great guys, very smart, knowledgeable people. But yeah, that's, and then and this shout out to the Scottish Rite and any other Masonic body out here. And just Masonry as a whole, So, and you guys, I appreciate it. You guys are my favorite podcast. I would
Thank you.
Oh, thank
literally, dude,
Oh,
like
you're so fine.
I've had so many mornings where I would drive to work, half asleep, like, dude, I don't even want to go, like wishing like I could just call off, which I could, but I like money too much. So I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna put up with it. And I put on an episode and I'd be like invigorated with, different types of knowledge that I had yet to hear, and it would ignite like a spark within me. And I was like, you know what? It's worth it because working, I can pay for more books and more knowledge. So, and I learned something on the way there. So yeah, I definitely appreciate you guys, and I'm a huge fan,
Thank
and
you.
I'm grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you. We
very much.
appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
What you got, Mike?
Well, I would like to give a shout out to Pan America 513, all the brothers in Pan America. Hey, what's up? I want to give a shout out to Whittier Montebello Lodge. Shout out to Downey United, NoHo,
No
and South Pass, man.
South Pass.
All these guys who've always supported us. I want to say thank you. And to the listeners and the people on the live feed, you know what? You guys make it great, and I really appreciate you.
Yep.
We totally love it. And
Don't forget about
please
Channel
keep it up.
Islands.
Oh, Channel
Channel
Islands.
Islands.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Channel Islands
What's
with
up?
Renee and the homie.
King Ketterman.
Yeah.
And Ryan.
Ryan
Ryan.
Grim Occulta.
Yeah.
It's funny, like I barely met him. Maybe was our last secret social,
Mm-hmm.
and I've known him for years on Instagram. We've always like,
is
hey, what's
weird
up,
meeting
right?
people.
And then you meet in person, you're like, hey, what's going on?
Right.
You know, awesome, man. I love that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it for me. What
They are moving to a new location. Please check them out. I want to give a shout out to them. They just did a Winter Solstice Festival, which was awesome. It's a great turnout. Give a shout out to Poke and the OTA. Thank you for inviting me and hosting the Winter Solstice ritual that we did over there, and Yule. So it was a wonderful event. And of course, Points of Light and Rhapsody. Thank you guys. And last but not least, our fans, Dree Bat, who's always on our on our chat. Thank you for being a
Lydia's, thank you.
Yes, thank you for being here, always
Thank
being here,
you.
and thank you for everybody who's posting their questions and insight after the show, during the show, on our social media pages and everything like that. You guys make this a community. I just want to say thank you.
Ron.
You know, I want to send my shout outs to my Luminari MC brothers as usual. These guys keep me sane. It was good. I just got to enjoy a nice Christmas party with my brothers. It was good times. I'd also like to shout out to authors just like Mario, Angel Miller, P.D. Newman, Tim Hogan, Greg Kaminsky, Mitch Horowitz, all these guys that are helping keep Masonry alive, giving us esotericism, giving us occultism, teaching, looking beyond the veil. We appreciate you. I know I enjoy your readings, and it's great that you guys can all do what you do. Thank you, Mario. We truly appreciate you. We appreciate all you authors that help keep the craft alive.
That was
Awesome.
beautifully laid out by you guys, and yeah, you're most welcome. I'm just fulfilling what I feel is my my role. You know, I like to write and read and study. It's pretty much my life. I mean, I'm just a natural philosopher, I guess. I guess we all are.
We all are.
Definitely. That's
We all
sir.
should be, that's for sure.
yeah,
Brian,
for
you got
sure.
anything to add?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, Mario, for joining us tonight. As usual, thank you to all the listeners. And I believe it was you, James. You were talking a little bit about community. On that note, just want to let you guys know that after the new year, we will be launching our new Discord. Keepers of the Word Discord will be coming for you guys. It'll be a place for you guys to be able to just get together on kind of on your own without us having to always be there. There's different channels that we have set up. There'll be one specifically for shows. If for whatever reason you're not able to chat live, you can, through Twitch or YouTube, you can hop in there, leave comments in there. It's also specifically going to be there for those of you that are watching an archive, like a past show. You can hop into that channel and you can put all your comments there regarding the show specifically. We're going to have other channels in there specifically for Freemasonry. We're going to have channels in there specifically for occult and esoteric topics. We're going to have voice channels. If any of you out there know what Discord is, then you already know. For those of you that don't, you're going to learn, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So, again, that's going to be dropping after the new year.
So
And
take it.
Yep. And again,
like it.
we've been talking here and there about rebranding and stuff like that. We're getting all that stuff done. We have a lot of cool things coming for you guys. So we just ask that you continue to support us and just, keep coming through.
Yes,
And-
sir. I'm looking forward to that part of this new area of keepers. So that's great. So, Ron, you want to close us out?
Yes, sir. So that will do it for this episode. We'd like to thank our sponsors, which is us. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor, please let us know. Look forward to our new Discord information. And as always, we appreciate all of our family, our fans, our community. Thanks for supporting us. Thanks for being there. Thanks for being involved with us. And
guys. And that's
That's-
it. We're out.
that's
Thank
it.
you.
All right.
All right,
a
later,
wrap.
you guys.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thanks.